Here's the truth no one tells you. Adventure bikes aren't about horsepower, they're about heart. Some of the best machines for exploring this planet aren't the ones plastered across billboards or hyped in glossy ads. They're the quiet ones, the reliable ones. The bikes that'll carry you across deserts, mountains, and continents without asking for attention or a second mortgage. So today, we're diving into 11 of the most underrated adventure motorcycles on the planet. Bikes that don't get enough credit, but absolutely deserve a spot in your garage. We're talking about a Chinese-built dual sport that's shocking the world, an old single that refuses to die, and a retro twin that somehow makes dirt roads feel like a Sunday cruise. And here's the twist. Some of these bikes are so underappreciated, their owners don't even want you to find out about them. Because once you do, prices are gonna go up. Before we get started, hit that like button if you love bikes that don't need Wi-Fi to find adventure. Subscribe if you haven't already. And share this with that one friend who still thinks you need 1,200 cubic centimeters to have fun. Alright, grab your helmet. Because the first bike on this list is rewriting everything people thought they knew about budget adventure. It's built where nobody expected greatness, and it just might be the most shocking ADV success story of the decade. Number 11. CF Moto 450 MT. Let's start with the shocker, the CF Moto 450 MT. Yeah, a Chinese adventure bike. I know that phrase used to make riders roll their eyes, but this one's different. CF Moto has been quietly working with KTM for years, and it shows. The 450 MT isn't a cheap copy, it's a legitimate lightweight adventure machine that can hold its own against the big names. You get a 449cc parallel twin making around 44 horsepower, 386 pounds wet, 8 inches of suspension travel, 21 and 18-inch spoked wheels, a slipper clutch, switchable ABS, and a full-color TFT display, all for under $6,000. That's not just good value, that's industry disruption. On the trail, it's surprisingly capable. The suspension feels dialed in, the throttle response is smooth, and the balance makes it feel lighter than it is. On the highway, it cruises comfortably at 70 without breaking a sweat. Sure, the dealer network isn't massive yet, but early reliability reports have been solid, even after serious off-road punishment. The 450 MT proves that CF Moto didn't just copy Japan's homework, they finally aced the test. And if this is where they're starting, the competition should probably start paying attention. Number 10. Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 might be the biggest glow-up in adventure motorcycling. Remember the old Himalayan? Charming, yes, but also heavy, underpowered, and about as fast as a thoughtful apology. The 450 changes everything. It's powered by a brand new 452cc liquid-cooled single, making around 40 horsepower, almost double the old model, and it finally feels confident at highway speeds. The Royal Enfield completely re-engineered this bike from the ground up. The new frame is lighter and stiffer, the Showa suspension offers real off-road composure, and the ergonomics are spot on for long days in the saddle. It's still simple, still approachable, but now it's genuinely capable. Off-road, it's sure-footed and forgiving, the kind of bike you can drop, pick up, and keep riding without drama. On pavement, it feels refined enough for everyday use. And the best part? It keeps the price tag in check, still under $6,000. This is adventure stripped of ego, a reminder that you don't need a $20,000 bike to explore the world. The Himalayan 450 isn't just a comeback story, it's proof that simplicity, done right, never goes out of style. Number 9. Kawasaki W800. At first glance, the Kawasaki W800 doesn't scream adventure. No knobby tires, no aggressive fairing, no futuristic gadgets. But give it a chance, and you'll discover one of the most quietly capable classic-style bikes ever made. The W800 brings old-school charm with a modern twist. An air-cooled 773cc parallel twin that hums with smooth, predictable torque. It's not about brute force, it's about balance and character. And that's exactly what makes it such a sleeper hit among riders who love long, scenic rides and backroad exploration. This thing feels rock solid, beautifully balanced, and surprisingly composed on rough pavement or gravel. Throw on some soft panniers and scrambler tires, and suddenly, it transforms into a retro-style ADV that turns heads everywhere it goes. It's also refreshingly simple. No complex electronics, no hidden menus, just analog riding at its best. And like all Kawasaki's, it's built to last. Sure, it won't replace a Tenere 700 off-road, but that's not the point. The W800 is about relaxed adventure, the kind that starts on a Sunday morning and somehow turns into a 300-mile day. Understated, reliable, and dripping with personality. This is the adventure bike for riders who crave soul over specs. Number 8. Yamaha Tracer 7 GT. If there's one bike that quietly does everything right without anyone noticing, it's the Yamaha Tracer 7 GT. It shares its heart with the MT-07, that legendary 689cc parallel twin that's so smooth and so reliable, riders joke it could survive a zombie apocalypse. But where the MT-07 is all city grit, the Tracer 7 GT turns that same engine into a long-distance, lightweight adventure machine. The ergonomics are spot on. Upright bars, relaxed knees, a plush seat, and a windshield that actually works. Add factory panniers, and you've got a bike that's light enough for weekend escapes but comfortable enough for multi-day rides. At just over 450 pounds wet, it's in that sweet spot. Not too heavy for tight turns, not too light for the highway. The handling feels effortless, like the bike's reading the road ahead of you. And yet, it's rarely talked about. Maybe because it isn't extreme, but that's exactly why it works. The Tracer 7 GT proves that adventure doesn't have to mean suffering. Sometimes, it's just about a bike that makes every mile feel easy. Number 7. Suzuki DRZ 400S. The Suzuki DRZ 400S is the two-wheel definition of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Suzuki's been building this bike, almost unchanged, since the early 2000s, and somehow it's still one of the most dependable adventure platforms out there. It runs a 398cc liquid-cooled single that makes about 39 horsepower, paired with a gearbox that feels like it could survive a nuclear winter. It's simple, rugged, and easy to live with. No ride modes, no TFT, no fancy electronics. Just a reliable thumper that'll start every morning and go wherever you point it. Off-road, it feels like a mountain goat. Light, predictable, and surprisingly forgiving when you make mistakes. On pavement, it'll cruise comfortably at 60 to 70 miles per hour, humming along like it's in no hurry to grow old. Parts are everywhere, maintenance is easy, and owners regularly rack up tens of thousands of miles without touching the engine. It's not flashy, it's not new, but it's one of the most trusted companions you could take into the wild. The DRZ 400S might just be the most honest motorcycle Suzuki ever built, and one of the last truly old-school adventure bikes you can still buy new. If you've made it this far, you're clearly not just a casual rider. You actually get it. You're the kind of person who cares about the ride itself, not just the specs or the badge on the tank, and that's exactly who this channel is for. So if you're nodding along right now, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button and join the community. We post new videos every week about real adventure bikes, the ones that actually make sense. And hey, drop a comment below. What's the most underrated adventure bike you've ever owned? You never know, it might just show up on the next list. Alright, let's get back to it. Because the next bike is a total sleeper. It's not flashy, it's not trendy, but give it 10 minutes on a back road and you'll wonder why everyone isn't talking about it. Number 6. Kawasaki Versys 650. You know those bikes that don't get the spotlight, but quietly do everything right? That's the Kawasaki Versys 650. It's like the Swiss Army knife of adventure bikes. Practical, versatile, and tougher than it looks. The 649cc parallel twin is one of the most bulletproof engines Kawasaki's ever built. Smooth, dependable, and happy to rev. It just does the job without ever complaining. On the highway, it's calm and comfortable. On twisty back roads, it feels lighter than the spec sheet says. And when you throw some bags on it and disappear for the weekend, you realize why owners rarely ever sell them. It's not pretending to be an off-road beast, but for touring, commuting, and mild adventure, it nails the balance most bikes miss. The best part? It doesn't chase trends. It's not trying to look aggressive or futuristic. It just works. People skip over it for fancier names and TFT screens, but the Versys doesn't care. It just keeps running and running and running. Honestly, if motorcycles had personalities, the Versys would be that friend who never brags, but is always the one who gets everyone home. Number 5. Yamaha Tenere 700. You've heard of it, sure, but the Yamaha Tenere 700 is still one of the most underrated adventure bikes out there. Why? Because it doesn't rely on gimmicks. No traction control maze, no 15 ride modes, no touchscreen dashboard trying to distract you from the horizon. Just Yamaha's legendary 689cc CP2 engine, long travel KYB suspension, and a chassis that feels carved from a single piece of determination. What makes the Tenere 700 special is how pure it feels. You don't have to think about it, you just ride. It's light enough for dirt, planted on the highway, and its mechanical honesty wins you over mile by mile. Plenty of bikes claim to be ready for adventure. The Tenere actually is. It'll cross entire countries just the way it comes out of the factory, eat gravel roads for breakfast, and still get you to work on Monday without a scratch. And while the internet argues about horsepower figures, Tenere owners are out there quietly stacking odometer numbers most bikes only dream about. It's simple, it's tough, and reminds you why adventure riding became a thing in the first place. Freedom without complication. Number 4. Suzuki V-Strom 650 XT. If there's one adventure bike that never gets the credit it deserves, it's the Suzuki V-Strom 650 XT. Everyone calls it boring, and yet, this so-called boring bike has taken riders across continents, through deserts, and up mountain passes without a single complaint. It's powered by Suzuki's 645cc V-twin, an engine so reliable it's earned a reputation for running 100,000 miles with little more than oil changes. The V-Strom's secret is balance. It's not too heavy, not too tall, and not expensive. It's just right. You can commute on it during the week, pack it up for a weekend of gravel and back roads, and it'll do both with ease. The XT trim adds spoked wheels, handguards, and crash protection that actually works, things you'll appreciate for the first time you drop it in a muddy parking lot. No, it doesn't have the flashiest electronics or the biggest horsepower number. What it has is something more valuable: trust. If you want a bike that feels like an old friend, one that's always ready to go anywhere, anytime, the V-Strom 650 XT is one of the smartest adventure buys in the world. Number 3. Honda ST1100, ST1300 Pan-European. The Honda ST1100 and ST1300 Pan-European aren't flashy. They don't show up in ads tearing through sand dunes. But talk to long-distance riders, and you'll hear one thing again and again: these bikes just don't quit. Underneath that smooth bodywork sits one of Honda's toughest engines, a liquid-cooled V4 that runs so quietly and so consistently, it's been used by police fleets around the world. It's shaft-driven, fuel-efficient, and built to cover serious miles. Riders regularly see 200,000 or more without a rebuild. On the highway, it feels planted and effortless. The weight disappears once it's moving, the wind protection is excellent, and the comfort level borders on luxury. Off the beaten path, it's surprisingly stable on dirt or gravel if you take your time. It's not designed for jumping dunes, but for crossing countries, the kind of adventure where endurance matters more than drama. Modern bikes might have more tech, but few have this kind of quiet, proven reliability. The ST series is a reminder that adventure doesn't always mean dust and chaos. Sometimes it's just you, the road, and a machine that will never let you down. Number 2. Yamaha XT500. Long before adventure bike was even a phrase, there was the Yamaha XT500. Released in the mid-1970s, it became a legend by doing something simple. It worked everywhere. This single-cylinder air-cooled thumper was light, tough, and so dependable it won the first Paris-Dakar rally, then came back and did it again the next year. There's nothing fancy about it. No liquid cooling, no electric start, no electronics at all. Just a kick lever, a carburetor, and an engine that could survive things most bikes wouldn't. Owners buried them in mud, dropped them in rivers, left them in barns for years, and they still fired back to life with a few kicks. It's not fast, and it's definitely not comfortable by today's standards, but the XT500 defined what an adventure bike should be: simple, durable, and unbreakable. Even now, decades later, collectors and riders still hunt for clean examples. Not for nostalgia, but because these bikes still work. The XT500 didn't follow the adventure trend, it started it. And if there's one motorcycle on this list that earned its legend the hard way, it's this one. Number 1. Honda Africa Twin. At the top of the list sits a bike that somehow manages to be famous and underrated: the Honda Africa Twin. It's easy to forget how capable this machine really is because it doesn't shout for attention. The Africa Twin isn't about being the fastest or the flashiest, it's about being dependable when nothing else is. Powered by a 1084cc parallel twin, it's tuned for torque, not ego. It delivers smooth, predictable power that makes long-distance travel feel effortless. The suspension is well balanced, the ergonomics are all-day comfortable, and the electronics, while advanced, never get in your way. Take it off-road and it feels planted. Take it on the highway and it settles in like a touring bike. It's that rare adventure motorcycle that actually feels built for adventure, not marketing. Owners ride these things across continents with barely a hiccup, and even with all its success, the Africa Twin still flies under the radar compared to bigger, pricier European bikes. If reliability had a face, it'd look a lot like this. The Honda Africa Twin isn't just a motorcycle, it's proof that real adventure doesn't need hype, just heart, miles, and a machine that's ready for both. And that's the list. 11 adventure motorcycles that don't need hype, chrome, or giant price tags to prove their worth. Each one's a reminder that adventure isn't about horsepower or headlines. It's about heart, about getting out there, taking the long road, and trusting the machine beneath you. If you enjoyed this countdown, take a second to share this video with your riding buddies. You never know, it might convince someone to finally buy the bike they've been overlooking for years. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We've got more deep dives, long-distance legends, and underrated gems coming your way every week. All focused on real-world riding, not just spec sheet bragging. Of course, go ahead and hit that like button if one of your favorites made the list, and tell us in the comments which underrated adventure bike deserves a spot next time. Ride safe, ride smart, and remember, adventure starts the moment you stop waiting for the perfect bike, and just ride the one that's already perfect for you.